Greetings! Welcome to the FaerySpeak Manifestation and Healing Tools. I wish to share with you some of these tools that I use on a regular basis. And there are so many other ones. There are so many out there that wish to share with you tools that you could use to heal yourself and manifest things in your life. Now, as you recall, from the FaerySpeak episodes 1 and 2 and 3, I've been using tarot cards. Tarot cards very much like these. And you know what they look like if you've watched my episodes. And if you haven't, take a look at the episodes 1, 2, and 3. And there'll be other episodes too of me reading tarot cards online to help you work on your spiritual journey. But there are many kinds of tarot cards out there. Go to a New Age bookstore. You know, you can order online, but it's really better that you go in and actually touch them and read the descriptions on the boxes and maybe talk to, the person that runs the store. And you might actually find that you'll find something that really works for you. For me, it's the fairy tools. I use these cards because I have a connection to the fairies. Some people say that I look like a leprechaun. I don't see it. But you never know. Some people do. So, I just wish to show you some of my tools that I use for manifestation. And most of them, they're pretty much, I've used them so much, I only have to think about it a little bit, and I could really just move right into it. Just takes a little practice. So the first one is the 3-touch technique. There is a way you can program your dreams. Would you like to hear? This was a technique that someone taught to me. You do this just as you're about to go to sleep. After you've done everything, you've had your water, you went to the bathroom, you've hugged your cat, all the things, or you hugged your significant other, whatever works. Just by as you lay down and you close your eyes, and your cell phone is turned off, or the ringer's turned off and it's been put in another room. Yep. And you think, okay, I'm all set to go. So I'm going to take my glasses off. Then you take my glasses off. So you basically do an affirmation. Like, for example, for this card here, and it's the number 3. The guardians of the gate. The gate is closed at this time. So, say you want to do the steps you need to open the gate. So maybe you would say, I wish to do the steps to open the gate. Or you could do anything else you wish. I wish to have the confidence for my interview tomorrow. I wish this, use the word I wish, not the word I want, because want expresses need, where wish presents desire. So, you would, basically, you take all your fingers together, you put them together on your forehead, over your third eye, and you say to yourself 3 times, I wish to have the confidence for tomorrow. I wish to have the confidence for tomorrow. I wish to have the confidence for tomorrow. Then you take your 2 fingers, you go, I wish to have the confidence for tomorrow. I wish to have the confidence for tomorrow. I wish to have the confidence for tomorrow. And then you take your finger, you go up under the bridge of your nose, and you say the affirmation once more. I wish to do what's needed to open the gate. I wish to do what's needed to open the gate. I wish to do what's needed to open the gate. And then go to sleep. And things will present to you, both in your dreams and in your life, to help you move forward. Okay, well there's the first one. Now another one is a really easy one to use, and it's called the pendulum. Now this here is a pendulum that I got. It's just basically a phantom crystal that I bought in Peru. Puma, Peru, I believe it was. And we get a good close-up here. So here's a good close-up of it. So this is a quartz crystal, but it's a phantom crystal, which means that not only is it a crystal, it has another crystal inside that continues to grow. Now crystals have their own identity, and they continue to grow even after you've harvested them from the earth. And in this one here in particular, the crystal that's inside will continue to grow little by little. You may have to look at it year after year, but it has a nice energy feel to it. So, now pendulums are kind of an interesting thing. You can use anything for a pendulum. You can, as long as you've got a piece of string and a weight. You can use a washer with a hole in it. Well, washers have holes in it. So you could use a washer, tie a string to it, and use that. You can use a nail. It's nice to have a point on the end, just so that you can, and basically you just do is you hang it just like this. You hang it just like this, and you'll ask it questions. Yes or no questions, or maybe you're looking for energy. Sometimes it will swing one way or another, and you get to know your pendulum and you know what it does. Maybe it goes in circles. You could use it to find energy ley lines, for example, which is something I did quite often when I was in the British Isles. But you can use them in the area also. And you just ask it a question, and it would move. And you get used to it. You may ask it questions that you know the answers to, just so you can see what it does. Now, of course, you could move your hand and make it swing. So you theoretically can convince this pendulum to answer it just the way that you want it to. But if you're being honest with yourself, you're going to hold your hand very steady. Or maybe you'll bring your elbow into your chest so that it will help keep your hand steady. If you're like me and your hands tend to shake a little bit, you're going to do what you can do to keep your hand steady straight so that you can get a good read. So it's a nice way to get questions about things, or looking for things like energy, for example, energy ley lines. Now you could do a search and find out what energy ley lines are, but basically ley lines are a network of lines that surround the planet, kind of like the longitude and latitude, but it's a little bit more in depth. And they do crisscrossings or multiple crisscrossings at pockets of energy. And some people believe that the fairy realm is what helped keep those ley lines repaired. For example, when Chernobyl happened, that was a huge conveyance of ley lines, caused a lot of disruption in the third body of the Earth. Now, once upon a time, I used to make pendulums and also dowsing rods. So these were the cards that I used to make. These are dowsing rods, and then in the back is a pendulum. Now, I didn't include a pendulum in the kit because it's a very personal choice about your pendulum. The dowsing rods are fairly simple to make. Basically, and actually dowsing rods, the ones you hear about dowsing rods, most people think about them as the ones that the sticks that people use to find water. Now water, good water, water that's drinkable, is very high in energy. It has. Now my first ones has a little circle on the end, and the circle on the end helps to add the energy. It helps give you a little balance. Now a lot of them are pointed. My first ones that I made, I was using pen barrels as the handle, and then I went to something else and I put some tape on it to make it look nice, and I put a curlicue on the end here, keeps it all together, and it adds a nice balance. And you can hold it fairly straight, and you can then detect how well it works. And you can use energy to move it. See? It's kind of interesting. I'm using the energy from my hand to help move it. Now, I like to use 2 dowsing rods. And what it is kind of a check system. So, that way you can hold both hands. And I would suggest putting your elbows up against your chest so that you can help keep your hands straight. And then you're gonna tip them down slightly so they find their center, and then you're gonna bring them up so that they're straight. And what they basically do is they check each other for movement. Let's see. If you have them both, tip them down, and then you get them so that they're both straight. And then bring them up so they're straight. The barrels are straight up and down, left and right. And then you use one to check the other. Now when you walk up against energy, they don't point at energy. They usually do is I'm going to put one down, they'll go to the side like this. But it's just like with the pendulum. You're going to find how you wish them to look like when they're doing it. You can use them to ask questions, but usually you use a pendulum to find energy and detect energy, such things. Or if you're looking for something, you can use the pendulum to find them. So they're very common places like Stonehenge and American Stonehenge, which is up in Salem, New Hampshire. So you can make these yourself. You get a piece of copper or brass rod, and then you can bend them, and you can take a piece of, some kind of hollow tube. Could be cardboard for all that matter, but once you kind of get into your own dowsing rod, you're probably going to want it to last. And then, you can play around with them all you want. The next tool that I recommend, well, one tool is an easy tool. It's called grounding. Now, grounding means becoming centered. Now, you can ground to the earth, like we do with our electrical systems in houses and buildings and structures and stuff, where you drive a stake down into the copper stake down into the earth deep and attach it, and the house is grounded safely. Or you could just visualize doing that. You could take some kind of energy sphere in your mind and drive that down into the earth, and that would help you ground yourself or center yourself. Now, the only drawback about doing it that way is if there's a lot of negative energy in the ground, or something that may have happened recently, or something that happened long in the past, that energy might influence you. So it's best to find ways of centering yourself without being totally connected to the land. Like maybe doing a lot of gardening, or taking a walk in the woods, or just taking a walk in the park, or finding a spot that really is very meaningful to you. Once you actually have that in your head, you can actually connect to that spot anytime, even if you're in the midst of chaos. close your eyes for a couple of seconds or just daze off into the distance and then think about that being in that particular spot and having yourself centered. There's a lot of techniques about being centered, but that's kind of the easiest way, is to create a circle around you, and inside the circle is your happy place. Remember that movie? You go to your happy place? Well, that's basically it. You make a sphere around yourself, and you go to your happy place, you become centered, and then you move all your life. And chaos all around you can continue to happen, but you're going to feel great in your happy place. And you're going to be able to function the way you wish to function without being tied into what other people are doing and saying. Okay. So the next one is what I call the shame technique. Now, the shame technique is often given to you by people that you know, like say your mother or your father, your brother, your sister, your boss. It's mostly your mother and your father, or your grandfather, or your aunts. It's somebody that has a lot of meaning to you. And for some reason, they put a lot of shame on you in order to affect your behavior. Now, shame and doing something inappropriate are two totally different things. You know, sometimes you do something inappropriate because either you don't know any better, you don't care, you know, all those things. Or we just think it's a whole lot of fun. And we don't care about the consequences. But when somebody dumps a lot of shame on you, particularly when you're a young child, that stuff comes with you for the rest of your life. And it's a good idea to get rid of it. So the shame technique is essentially you're going to do in your mind's eye, which is right here, in your concentration, you're going to imagine that you're standing in a circle. Now in that circle is going to be made up of salt. Any kind of salt you like, whether it's kosher salt, sea salt, whatever salt. Salt from Malta. It's one of my favorites. Well, I haven't had it for an awful long time. But so you're going to have a ring of salt. And you're doing this in your concentration. And then you're going to stand right in the center. Right here. Now, the person that you're thinking of in particular that shamed you, say for example it's your mother, that way we can use it for example. Could be your father, your aunt, could be a friend you had when you were a child. You imagine you're having a conversation with that person. Now that person is standing outside the circle. You're inside the circle and you're protected with salt. Now many religions use salt as a means of protection. We use salt to protect our food. So everybody uses salt to protect something. So that's why there's a connection between using salt as protection. In the center is standing you. Now, the person outside, for example, maybe your mother, has a connection between you and your mother. And it's a little tiny piece of thread. It's a piece of thread that attaches to you and attaches to that person. What you want to do is you want to imagine the shame that that person has put on you. And don't take the whole thing on at once. Take a little piece. See my fingers? A little piece. You take on a little piece. You're going to pretend that you're having a conversation. Now, there's the fun part. This person could have passed. This person doesn't necessarily have to be in physical form now. So this is the coolest part. So you can work with this on people that have passed. Now you might want to choose a location that you feel very comfortable at. not in some kind of crazy, chaotic location that you can't stay focused on the meditation. So, you imagine that particular topic of shame. You go to it, Mother. This is your shame, not my shame. Because mostly when people dump shame on other people, it's usually they have it themselves. And they're giving it to you to make themselves feel better. You're standing there in the circle, surrounded by salt, and outside the circle is, say, for example, your mother, and you're picturing a particular topic of shame that that person puts on you all the time, or even some of the time. And you're going to say to them 3 times, this is your shame, not my shame. Please take it back. And you're going to say this 3 times. And either 2 things are going to happen. And most likely, the first couple of times, the second thing's going to happen. So the first thing that could happen is that person might take the shame back without any kind of condition. But usually, and that's great, you give the shame back. The second thing that could happen is that they won't take it back. And that's usually what's going to happen in the beginning a number of times, and then all of a sudden they're going to take it back. So, you give the shame back, but you still have that thread, the thread that connects you to the other person. So what you now what you want to do? Oh, you have your ring of salt, you have you standing in the center, and you have the person that gave you the shame standing outside the circle. So what you want to do is you want to think about that shame. You want to picture it in this blob of stuff. And it's going to be this smelly, yucky. You're going to picture it anyway. You could consider a pot of flowers. But you're going to think of it as whatever kind of energy has been put on it. And sometimes the energy put on it is pretty, you feel pretty crummy about it. So you're going to picture what this thing feels like. So then what you're going to do is take this shame and give it back to that person. And you're going to say for example, if it's your mother, you can say, Mother, please take back this shame. Or maybe you call her Mommy or Mom or something. You're going to call her whatever you used to calling her. You're going to say, please take back this shame. This is not my shame. This is your shame. I wish you to take it back. And you're going to say that, 3 times or so. And, that person is either going to take it back lovingly, because you've done this technique over and over and over again, or they're not going to take it back. Now, in the beginning, they're probably not going to take it back. So you're going to say, you have to take it back. I do not want it. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you need to cut that thread, that piece of thread that connects you to the other person and to that shame. So you want to take a pair of scissors, a knife, an axe, a chainsaw, whatever it is in your mind that you have feelings of, and you're going to use that to cut that thread. Easy. Now you may want to just do this one at a time. You don't want to necessarily sit there with a shopping list and go through the shopping list. Okay, check. Now you could, but you want to do this slowly and work your way up. Maybe you could do a shopping list someday, but this is a great technique to do on a basis. Somebody, you identify some shame. Maybe somebody comes out of the blue that you met in first grade that used to bully you, and you're looking for, and then all of a sudden you say, wow, look at that. I never really noticed it before. I've got all these other people close to me, but I never thought of that guy, Jack, in first grade. The more times you do it, the less connected you are with that shame, and that shame goes back to that person. And that person is going to have to watch my show to know how to take away that shame from them. Win-win! So, give that a try. You might have some fun with it. You could even teach it to kids. Kids might actually enjoy it. It could be kind of like a fun little activity. You could even do it at the Thanksgiving Day family dinner. How fun can that be? Instead of talking about politics, you talk about shame. Cool. Now another technique is called the Ezekiel's wheel. Now I was taught this a long time ago. It's not so much a technique, it's more of an identification. Now the Ezekiel wheel is also a wheel that goes round and round. It's kind of like those old merry-go-rounds. Well, maybe they still have them at children's playgrounds where you get on top of this wheel and the wheel rolls around and around. So this has to do with making choices. Now sometimes you come up upon a choice. It's kind of a crossroad. Many people refer to them as a crossroad. Then you come up to a crossroad and you can either take a left or a right or go straight. Now, you want to make the choice that's the most loving choice for you. But sometimes the most loving choice is a more difficult choice. Or there's more passion against the choice. Even though that choice may not be the best for you, the passion involved in that choice is a little more interesting. So you take that choice. But it's not such a great choice. And what happens with that in the Ezekiel wheel is that choice will come around again and give you the opportunity to either make the same choice again or choose a different choice. So that's kind of the Ezekiel wheel. And when you find yourself in that particular situation, you can sort of start noticing, hey, I've done this before. I've come up to this one before. And it seems like in the past, I've always taken either the least resistance or the one that's most appealing. And I'm not thinking with my brain. When you're making these kind of choices, you want to think with your brain and not with your heart, because your heart just may not direct you to the right direction. We all make those choices. We all choose, you get wrapped up in the emotions of it, or the energy of it, or you have some shame around it, so you go off and you do something that puts yourself in some kind of risk. So then you just end up with that opportunity comes back up again because your higher self and your subconscious is trying to help you move along. Great. So that's another great little technique. Or it's not really a technique, it's identification so that you can help move yourself through things a little easier. If you can see it, it's easier to move through it. Techniques of healing. Thank you for joining me on the FaerySpeak healing techniques. I hope you are watching my series, and I hope you're having fun. If you have any questions, send them along through the station, and I will be happy to answer them.